What's up, guys? In this video I'm picking up right where I left off on the motor swap. Old motor's out, new motor is as ready as it's gonna be. This video we are going to be taking the turbo off, which I'm not using this stock turbo. I've got that big wheel stalker turbo I'm gonna put on, but still got to swap all the lines and the wastegate and all that over. And then in addition to that, we will be removing the trans from this engine, and I'm doing a clutch and synchros on this trans because my car was starting to grind gears. And also while I'm in there, might as well do a clutch. I don't know what clutch is in this car. I bought it with 60,000 miles, so who knows what clutch is in there. I'm assuming it's the original one, unless one of the previous owners was stupid. But I bought a Focus RS clutch and a flywheel from Rock Auto that we're going to be putting in. And then I got Mountoon carbon synchros, so the transmission will be built a little stronger. And then also you can see the shift tower was leaking pretty badly, so going to reseal the shift tower as well. So that's all that's going to be happening in this video. You can see here's the new motor. As far as getting the trans onto this, I don't really know. We'll figure that out. But yeah, I've got all the replacement parts in the back of the car here. There's honestly probably stuff I'm forgetting. That coolant reservoir doesn't even fit. But that's the I think that's the clutch there. There's the flywheel. We've got coolant. I've got a line for the high pressure fuel pump, but I don't need that. That's a coolant cap. What do we have in here? I believe, yeah, so this is new bearings for the trans whenever I take it apart, because I've heard when you remove the stock ones, they're made of plastic and they'll break. So that's that. Got an ACT clutch alignment tool. Cylinder. Oh, that's new slave cylinder, I believe. And then I've got new gasket kit for the turbo. These are the two coolant lines. Then just these are flywheel bolts. This is a tool that you need to take off the heater core hoses, which is what these two things are. Oil filter. I've got my CPE rear motor mount, which I used to have on the car, but I took it out because the bushing went bad, so I sent it back to them under warranty to get it rebuilt. I don't know where the other piece of it is, but I'll find it because this was a stage 2 rear motor mount. But that'll be going in with the car. And then I also got a new passenger side motor mount because mine's blown. This is a flywheel holder tool I bought off Facebook when torquing down and loosening the bolts. And then I've got new headlight bulbs from a sponsor there. That'll be its own video. But yeah, that's everything that will be going on to the new motor. So I'm going to go ahead and get the motor set down on the pallet it came on. And I guess just start messing with how I want to get the trans off and stuff. But yeah, I also probably should compression check that motor because I haven't done that yet. But now I've got the starter removed, so I can throw the starter on there whenever I get the motor off that engine stand, which I'm pretty sure there's not really much I can do on that engine stand other than the turbo probably. So yep, I don't really know what I'm doing next, so I'll update you whenever I figure it out. Alright, so first thing I did was swap the turbo on from that motor to this motor. Make sure when you do this that you buy a new gasket kit. It comes with a new gasket for the manifold and for all the oil and coolant lines all around here. That actually took me quite a bit longer than I thought. It took me about an hour to get that one off. Swap all the parts over, replace all the gaskets, and then get it all torqued down properly onto the new motor. But got it all good to go. Only gasket left is the one from the turbo exhaust side to the downpipe, but I put that with the new V-band. One thing you'll want to keep in mind whenever you take your downpipe off of your turbo is the V-bands that Ford uses are a proprietary part only to Ford. They're one-time use. A lot of them will snap when you take them off, but even if it doesn't snap, you're supposed to replace it. So don't try to get just a generic V-band for this, or there's even some aftermarket recreations of it that I think will work, but just go to a dealer and order it from a dealer and get the right V-band so that everything works. You don't have any leaks. So I think what I'm going to do next is swap out the heater core hoses here, just so I don't forget, and then also do the O2 sensor, which is going to be the secondary one here that before my motor blew, this one went out. So I'm going to make sure I replace that since it'll be nice and easy. Hopefully I don't have to take the downpipe all the way off, but if I do, oh well. But hopefully I can get in there and get it out from here. And then I think I'm going to call it a day, and then tomorrow is going to be transmission day, and I'll get to taking the trans off and doing the clutch and the synchros and all that stuff. So I'm trying to get these heater core hoses off, and it is like near impossible. I feel like every Ford connector on this whole car is just terrible. Like every single connector has got to have some weird adapter, like these fuel lines, like the electrical connectors. Everything's got to have like the most difficult mechanism. Like these, you have absolutely no room to get in there because the AC lines are above it. Underneath it there's a wiring harness. You can barely get your fingers in there. Like if you had to replace these without pulling the motor, I mean, you're just out of luck. Like there's no way you could get your hand in there and turn it. You got to buy this special tool, which I can't even get to work. You got to put this on there, and then you slide it on like that, and you've got to twist these little stupid 2.0 EcoBoost proprietary connectors here, and you got to twist them, and you twist it and then it can pull out. But I don't know, like, why can't you just use a hose clamp right here? I mean, like, I'm going to engineering school and this just looks stupid to me. I can't even, like, it's such a pain in the butt. Like, you can barely even get your hands in there. I don't know, I've watched videos on it, and like other people's, they just turn super easy, but this one's 10 years old, so it's like impossible. Like this little tool, I'm putting so much force on it, it's just bending, and you can see there's a little nub right there, and it's got to turn up here for me to be able to get this off, and it is not going smoothly. This honestly is probably like the most difficult part of this whole process. Everything else was super easy, went exactly how it's supposed to, and this is like, dude, I'm struggling to get this one connector to just get out so I can replace that. And then I haven't even gotten to the O2 sensor yet, which is probably not going to be fun because it's super rusty, and I've done it once before and it was stuck, and I replaced it with an OEM Ford part, and probably not even a year later it's gone bad. So that's where I'm at now. I'm trying to get these things done so I can go to bed, wake up tomorrow and do the transmission, but we'll see if I can even get this off. So I got the heater core hose swapped out. I could only do the right one. Rock Auto did not send me the right left one. I don't even know what they sent me. They sent me some hose that's not even on this car, and I don't really feel like dealing with it. So if it leaks, then that's a future me problem, I guess. I don't really know. I can't necessarily see it leaking. I don't really know. It could have just been leaking from my coolant reservoir, which it definitely was, because that Rev 9 chrome polished coolant reservoir is a bunch of junk. But then I also got the O2 sensor replaced, which that was easy. I actually was able to just crack this nut loose, and with the flex pipe I pushed it up and then spun it around, switched out the O2 sensor, then pushed it back up, put it back in there, all good to go. So I'm calling it a night, and then tomorrow we're going to take the transmission off and work on doing the clutch, flywheel, and synchros, which I'm a little afraid of doing the synchros. I don't really know how hard it actually is, but I guess we'll see whenever we get the transmission off. So I got the trans off. It wasn't too bad. Probably took me about 15 minutes. I just left it on the pallet here, put a jack under it, took all the bolts out, and then just kind of shimmied it off. But that's all I'm going to be doing for today, because I've got some other stuff to take care of. So I'm going to do that, and then tomorrow we'll disassemble this, get the slave cylinder off, and then start taking the Synchros apart and getting that done. And then hopefully that will be done tomorrow, and I can get that on the new motor. And then that will mean these next couple days we'll just be putting everything back together, and hopefully, ideally, in maybe like a few days, 3 days hopefully, we'll be able to do the first test start. But I'm going to get some cheap oil and flush out the oil that was in this and clean out the motor. Got to put the trans fluid in and do like a crank relearn, I believe. And then I've got to get it tuned again as well. So it'll be a while before it's fully driving, but hopefully it'll be running here in a few days. So I got the transmission apart. I don't think what I'm looking at is necessarily a good sign. I got the magnet there, and it's covered in metal shavings, meaning this transmission's pretty worn somewhere. And then this bearing here, which I'm pretty sure I have a new one of, was on top of whatever set of gears this is here. And the plastic thing that carries all those things was broken. So it just fell totally apart, and all the little ball things just fell out of it. I don't know if that was broken already or what the deal is. And then there's this little white piece here that was floating around in the transmission. I'm pretty sure this is a piece of a shifter fork, which is not good because I did not order new shifter forks, and I am moving in a week, so I need to figure out what the deal is there. It looks like these are the shifter forks, I think, and none of them have that little white piece on them that they're supposed to have. They also look pretty like worn in there, like that. Does not look like it's supposed to be that shape. I don't know. It looks like they've been pretty worn down. Wait, no, that's not. I'm not looking at the right thing. The things in there are supposed to have the white piece, which I'm pretty sure that's what this is here. Meaning one of the shifter forks is broken. So those are like $100 and you got to order them online, so we'll see there. I guess I'm going to watch a video so that I don't totally massacre this transmission, because this is one thing that I don't just know off the top of my head, is disassembling and rebuilding a transmission. So yep, I'm going to go ahead and get all these gears pulled out, because we've got to put new Synchros in there. And then I guess I'll inspect those shift forks, and we'll see what kind of damage we're looking at. Okay, so scratch everything I just said. I obviously don't know what I'm doing at all, but I put the transmission back together and then unbolted those 3 bolts on the top of this half, so that all the gears would fall out this way. And I believe that's how I was supposed to do it. I don't know if that's why this thing broke or what the deal is here. But I'm seeing some things that do not look like good signs. So this shifter fork right here looks completely fine. You can see those white pieces are totally intact. This shifter fork, on the other hand, is not. It does not even have those white pieces anymore. I don't know if you can see it, but that metal, oh my gosh, this camera won't focus. That metal is like worn down. You can see, look at that. So that's definitely not good. I think that's what this white piece here is. The rest of it, I'm sure, has been destroyed inside the transmission somewhere. As you can see, I don't remember which one that came out of, but none of these rings here look to be damaged per se. If I take this one out, this one looks good. It looks a little worn down, but it does not look to be broken. So I think I'm going to have to order a new shifter fork. That might not even be what this is. I'm 99% sure that's what this is, but yeah, that's not necessarily a good sign. I'm also gonna have to figure out whatever type of bearing, whichever bearing this is, that is clearly broken, because these are the bearings that I have two new ones of right here, these bearings, which I've heard these are pretty hard to get off, so you pretty much just have to break them to get them off, I've heard. This here, yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing here at all. I'm not seeing necessarily any more signs of wear. I'm sure when I get these Synchros apart, I'm really gonna see it, because I know for a fact that some of these Synchros should be absolutely shot, because there are times when my car would not shift into third, or would pop out of third. So this one here looks fine. So it looks like it's just one shifter fork that's screwed up. So I'm gonna go watch some videos and do some research so I know a little bit more about what I'm looking at here. And then I guess I'll see what I need to order, and that'll put quite the delay on this whole project. So I got it further disassembled. My theory was right about that shifter fork, because this is definitely not supposed to be floating around in the transmission. So yeah, there's that. And then here's this bearing. That's what it's supposed to look like. That is what's left of this one. I don't think that's something that I can just put back together like this, even though it's cracked. Maybe it is. I don't know. It's probably not wise, but I guess if I just put it all back in there, it could stay. That looks like a little chunk of metal in there. That's definitely not good. It's either that or a rock from my garage. Anyways, we've got these all taken apart, and then on the other side here we've got these these hex bolts here. They're reverse threaded, so you got to go right to loosen it, and then you basically just break these plastic bearings off, because that's the easiest way to get them off. I think you might need like a bearing puller or something, which I do not have, so I'll probably have to make like my 4th trip to Harbor Freight. But here's the new ones I got from Mountain. They're metal, so no more plastic caged bearings that will just crack and fall apart like this. They're metal ones. So I'm gonna probably post on my local Facebook group and see if anyone happens to have one of those shifter forks. I need to figure out which shifter fork it actually is. That'd probably be a good idea. And then I'm either gonna need to order it and wait for it, or see if I can somehow get one anywhere near me. But you can see this is the little white piece that's supposed to be on there, like on all the other shifter forks, but it's not, so that's a problem. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. This video is probably getting pretty long at this point, but yeah, I might just see what I can go ahead and rebuild and get done here without this shifter fork and bearing here, and then we'll just leave it until I can figure out the rest of it. Alright, so I'm back with more knowledge than in the last clip. So this right here is the reverse shifter fork. Then this is the 1 and 2, this is the 3 and 4, and this is the 5 and 6. And the 3 and 4 is the one that went bad, which is common because Ford used nylon pads, which I don't know if it's Ford. This is a jet drag MMT6 transmission, so maybe it was them, who knows. But this is totally shot, so I'm going to need to get a new one. I've been looking around. I could get an OEM one, but Ford doesn't sell these because if you have an issue with your transmission, Ford will only just replace the whole thing. They won't service it. So I can get an aftermarket one, which is just an OEM one that's sold through a different company, I believe. And then Jack's Transmissions makes one that has an upgraded pad that's brass, which I would want to do, but they only do that by you sending in your shifter fork and them installing it, which I don't have time for. So I'm going to see if I can like pay a bunch of money to overnight one or something, or maybe see if someone happens to have one locally. Then for these gear sets here, I don't even remember which gear is which now. I'm pretty sure this is like the 5 and 6 and like reverse, and this like 1, 2, 3, I don't know, something like that. Anyways, I've got the steel cage countershaft bearings here, which go on the top. With these two you break off, but then this one that's broken on the bottom of mine is the lower countershaft bearing, I guess is what it's called. But it's the one down here by the differential, and it looks to be the same as this differential bushing here, or not bushing, bearing, but I don't know for sure. It could be like a slightly different size or something, because when I'm looking online, all the transmission shops only sell the top countershaft bearings, and I'm not seeing the lower countershaft bearings anywhere. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research and see if I can find this OEM lower countershaft bearing, I guess, or I'm just gonna have to somehow make this one work, which it's not totally broken, it's just cracked in one spot. So I think like whenever the transmission is assembled it would stay together, but that's not really something I want to risk doing while it's just inside the transmission. I'm not really trying to pull this whole thing out to fix a mistake, so I'm gonna see the quickest way I can get one of these and see what the deal with that bearing is, and then maybe continue this video today, or it might be in a little bit whenever I've got more parts for it. So after further educating myself on Facebook and reading online, I went ahead and just dropped $400 on an upgraded 3-4 shift fork that has brass pads on it, and I got the lower, an upgraded lower countershaft bearing. I only got one, but I don't really care. This one's still on there fine, so that'll do the trick. And I went ahead and bought another one of these from Jack's Transmissions and paid to have it one day shipped. So we will see how that goes. That wasn't fun. I didn't really want to spend that much after all this, but oh well. I don't ever plan on selling this car, so I feel a little bit less bad about just throwing money into it, because I will probably have it forever. So that's that. I'm gonna let the transmission sit here and marinate for a little bit and clean up this mess in my garage, and then go ahead and get these motors swapped places. That one I've got everything done that I can while it's on the stand, so I'm going to take it off the stand and get to putting the flywheel and clutch and all that put onto it, and I'll either just put it on the engine stand or let it sit on the ground or whatever. And then I'm going to throw that motor right there on the engine stand because I want to disassemble it and look at the damage and see what all happened inside of there, but that'll be a whole separate video. So I'm gonna get to work on that, and we'll have to wait probably over the weekend to get the parts for that, but yep, that's what we're looking at. So I got the garage cleaned up a little bit, got the motors swapped around, the other one's on the engine stand in the backyard waiting for me to disassemble it. Then I got this one here ready to put the flywheel on. I took the clutch and flywheel off of the other motor so I could put it on the engine stand, obviously, and you can see it's got, I don't know if I really see any hot spots because that should show up as blue a little bit, but yeah, clutch has a tiny bit of life left in it, but definitely needed a new one, so glad I did that. I used that flywheel locking tool I got from a guy on Facebook, and I think I'm going to go ahead and try to get the new flywheel on and get it torqued down, and then can get the new clutch put on, and I think that will pretty much put me at a standstill until those transmission parts come in. So I got the flywheel on and all of the bolts torqued. This is just a Luck OEM flywheel from Rock Auto, which is the company who makes them for Ford. They're just cheaper if you get it straight from them. Make sure you get new torque to yield flywheel bolts and put some thread locker on them. And I'm going to show you here, if it'll focus, you can see that is the torquing pattern for them, and you're supposed to do it in 3 stages like that, and that is what I did, and now it is all tight. I have the flywheel holding tool in there, and then now I'm going to just clean this off with some brake clean to make sure it's nice and clean, and then going to bolt the clutch onto that. So the parts arrived from Jack's Transmissions. You can see here is the difference. Here's the broken one. It doesn't even have the white nylon pieces on it anymore. And then here's the new one that has upgraded brass, I don't even know what they call it, I guess pads on here that won't go bad. And then I also got another one of these bearings here that's steel caged and not plastic like that one. So I've got this gear puller set. I think it's gonna work, but I'm gonna have to test that, and I'm gonna try to do this gear first, and then get this one on, get this bearing off, so I can put the new one on here, and then I'll flip it over and take the other ones off to start doing the synchros and everything. So I got the lower countershaft bearing on. I just used this gear puller from Harbor Freight. Just put that on top of it and pull that off, and then I just hammered this new one on. I hit it with that torch to kind of expand the metal a little bit, and then use this socket and hammer here to hammer it on. And then this magnet in the transmission broke, so now I've got a whole new problem. I don't know how important this is, or I couldn't even figure out where it goes because it just fell out when I opened the trans, so I'm gonna have to post on Facebook and figure that out. But yeah, now that this one is on, I can flip these over and take off the plastic ones, which I guess are the upper countershaft bearings, these here, and then we can actually start disassembling all the gears to replace the synchros. Okay, so getting these bolts off of the Counter shafts, I guess the top bolts here was not fun or easy. First thing, got to remember that they're reverse threaded, so you got to turn it right to loosen it, so remember that. Since they have thread locker on them, I had to heat them up a lot. At first I got some PB Blaster and got it in there and kind of let it penetrate for about an hour while I made a trip to Harbor Freight to go get more tools that I ended up needing. You got to make sure you've got the right tools. I've realized that trying to use the wrong tools to do stuff is just going to make it a lot harder, so just go ahead, spend the money, get the right tools. I tried using an Allen key, that did not work. I tried using a little hex. This used to have a hex end in it, except it broke and shot somewhere in my garage where I can't find it. So I ended up going and buying these impact hexes, which is what I ended up using to get it off with my trusty old Harbor Freight impact. And here's my little setup here, because it's pretty hard to do it with these removed, because you'd have to hold it hard with your hand or like a vise, but I wouldn't want to put these gears in a vise. So here's the little setup I came up with here. I put the gear sets back in the transmission, and then I put this wrench around one of the diff bolts here, and then put this rag here to protect the gear, and then that will hold it. So as you're turning it right, which I guess I can't get down there to the gear, but as you're turning these bolts to the right, this will hold it in place. Keep in mind it's pretty loose still. I tried to do it with the breaker bar with the hex socket, and that doesn't really work because it's really hard to put the right leverage on it with the right force. Otherwise, if you have any sideways force, you can see these still move around and it makes it really hard. So I use the impact. You put it on what would normally be tightened, so it's spinning clockwise, and I put it on there. After I had the PB Blaster on it, I put the torch under it, or this under the torch, for about 2 minutes and kind of spun it around, made sure to evenly heat the bearing here. And also keep in mind, the bearing is still on there. The cage bearing, I just broke off the plastic and took all the little cylinders out, but it's still on there. And then just hit it with the impact, and after about 10 seconds of hammering, it eventually broke it loose and came off. So now you can see, if I turn it right, it comes off. But I'm leaving them in there because in order to get these bearings off, you're going to need a gear puller, which the 3-piece, actually I guess 2-piece set from Harbor Freight worked for me. I had a puller I showed earlier in the video, and it did not work in the slightest. So this is what you need. You can see this is this is the lower counter shaft bearing that I removed earlier, and this is how you set it up. So you clamp these things onto this bearing, and then this right here is what you tighten with the impact, and it pulls the bearing off. I'd recommend probably spraying some PB Blaster and heating up the bearing first, because that'll make it easier and just put less stress on everything. But yeah, you've got this piece here that presses down, so that's why I'm leaving the bolts in there, because otherwise you just have a hole and you have nothing to press against. So this presses against the bolt here, and then that will pull the bearing out, and then you might have to loosen this up a little to make sure you can get the bearing fully off. But yeah, that's how you get it off. So now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and pull the countershaft bearings off. In order to get them back on, I just heated them up with the torch, put some PB Blaster in there, and then just used that socket I showed in the last clip, I think, to hammer them on, and that seemed to work all right. So that's my little setup here, if you're kind of caught in the same pickle that I ended up in. But yeah, I'm going to finish pulling these bearings off and then disassemble the gear sets, which I'm not going to show you to disassemble them because that's pretty easy to kind of just pull it apart, but I'll do my best to show it going back together, because as of now I don't know how to exactly put it back together other than just match what you see here in the pictures. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing. There are some C-clips in there, which I've heard are very hard to get out, which I just realized I went to Harbor Freight and did not get C-clip pliers. So I don't know what type of C-clips they are, but I've heard they're hard to get out. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up and look at what we're working with and see if I can give you guys any tips. So the bearings are off, so got the gear set sitting here. This is 4th gear. Everything just removes super easily now. Like you can see, I just lift that off. I'm going to take everything off and lay it in order that it came out, and then try to explain what everything is, and then I'll try to show everything going back together. So I got the whole gear set taken apart. This right here and that right there, those C-clips are going to make you wish that you never opened the transmission up. Just a heads up. What ended up working for me was I got these bigger C-clip pliers from Harbor Freight. I bought a set of smaller ones. They did not work. So then I had to go back to Harbor Freight. I made 3 trips to Harbor Freight today. One for that hex to get those off, and then for these. I was able to use these mixed with 2 flathead screwdrivers, a set of picks, and 2 needle nose pliers to get these off. This one sucked, but I think that's just because I was figuring out how to do it. This one's even harder because you got to bring it off this clip, then it gets stuck in here, and here, and here, and in here. So you have to get it out like 5 separate times. It's not fun, but I did it. This probably was the best tool for the job. What also helped was cleaning it off with brake clean, so it's not all slippery. But here is everything. It's all in order. So this is the first thing I took off. Then it goes down this way, and then this way, and then this way, and then this way. So this will be the first thing to go back on. So my method here is to take the Synchros from Mountoon, find what matches up here with the stuff here, and then just swap it out and then put it all back together. So that's what I'm doing. Here's an overview of it if you're doing the same thing. This one, I believe, this one has part of the Synchro underneath it. I guess I should have separated. But yeah, these little balls, and here you've got to line up in these little grooves whenever you put it back together, but you'll see how that comes apart. Haven't even started on this one yet, so oh well. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and swap out the parts here and then just put it back together in reverse order. So I'm gonna show you one-handed how to put these back together. So these 2 pieces right here, this is what I took out. So this is the stock one, just a brass Synchro. Took that out. Then I've got the nice Mountoon carbon Synchro you can see on the inside. So first piece to go in is this one here. Kind of looks like a crown. You'll put it with the teeth facing up. So that goes down like that. Then you've got the next one, the carbon Synchro with the teeth facing down, and then spin that to make sure the teeth lock in. Then you're reusing this piece from the stock transmission, stock Synchro, and then spin it, make sure the teeth align like that. And then same thing with this one, reusing this from the stock setup, and it might be a little hard to get it to go down if you cleaned off the transmission fluid. And then you're going to want to spin this bottom gear here until the teeth align and this falls down, and then you can see that's what it'll look like. And then now you've got this groove to put the snap ring back in. Okay, so I was able to just use these snap ring pliers to get that C-clamp back on. So now you're going to take these little balls here and you set them in, well, this is going to be fun. Set them in horizontal like that, and you get all 3 of them in there, and then slide this over it and make sure that these sections right there with the little indentation is where the balls go. So you can see that's what it looks like. You kind of have to finagle it, but you put this like half on and then slide those in there into the grooves, and then it will slide down. Next, you'll be reusing this piece from the stock setup, and you'll twist it until the teeth line up and it falls down in there like that. Then we take this piece from the new Mountain Carbon Synchros. You put that down with the teeth facing up like that, and then you'll take the next piece with the teeth facing down and spin it until the teeth align, and then it's all in there like that. Then take this bearing, slide that down just like that. Then you'll take, I don't even know which gear this is actually, but slide that down over the bearing just like that. It's all together working. And then you've got this piece here, which you just gotta slide in, and then the other one that you slide in, you have to do it with multiple hands, and then put this ring over on top of it. And I forgot to mention, make sure that this piece right here, whenever you get those balls in there, snap it all the way down so that it looks like this, and that this little lip right here is along the top of it when you press it down. And then that's how these next pieces will look. There's just a flat spot in the groove, and you line them up and then put this ring on top like that. And now it's time to put the next gear on. So bearing goes on, then the gear will go on facing with this side down like that. And then it's time for the next synchro, which comes all together. All three pieces are getting replaced on this one. So you'll take this carbon synchro piece down with the teeth facing up. That will go in there like that. Then you take this next one with the teeth facing down and line it up until the teeth go in. And then you'll take this last brass piece here with the carbon lining and put it on just like that. Now you're going to take this piece, and this one is important to make sure you get it on the right direction. You can see there's a bigger lip here and a smaller lip here. Bigger lip face down, and then make sure, oops, I got it wrong there. You're going to want to align that opening with the marking with the extrusion on the synchro there, like that. So then you can see it snaps down in there, and then now you have enough room to put the snap ring back on. So now that the snap ring is in, it's time to put these little balls in, and you'll see there's a little vertical line in there. Make sure that is upright, like that, and then put all three of those in, and then you can snap that ring on. Then you'll take all three of these pieces. These are the stock synchro pieces. Get rid of those. And then we've got the last full put together synchro here from Mountain that goes with these 4 teeth facing up. And you'll line it up like that. Then you've got these 4 teeth here. You'll place your bearing on. Looks like it might have been caught on a little piece of dirt or something. Then bearing on, and then gear with the 4 holes like that, and then spin it till it lines up there. So now everything is on, and we need to press on the new countershaft bearings. So I'm gonna get that heating up. can see, here's the upgraded ones. That ring should already be in the case, but then we've got these steel caged bearings, and I'm just going to heat up the inside here, rub a little PB blaster on here, make sure it's clean, there's no dust particles on it, and then you can just take like a socket that's the size of this inner ring here and hammer it on. So I got the bearing pressed on, then got the bolt back in there. You're supposed to torque this to 75 foot-pounds. I don't really have a good way of doing that and holding this still, so I just went with the old Ugga and thread locker trick, and I think that will work just fine. So going to set this aside now and then work on round 2 here of pulling this one apart, and then once that one's done, I'm going to spray them down real good with brake cleaner, make sure they're nice and clean, there's no little rocks or anything picked up from the breeze or garage floor on these, so that they don't get in the transmission, and then we'll go ahead and start sealing it back up. So luckily the 5th and 6th gear set is a lot easier. This is as far as you have to take it apart. I got the C-clip off, then you pull this off again, then you've got the last Synchro, which don't quote me on this, but I believe this is the 6th gear Synchro. These are both the upgraded ones with carbon lining. I already took out the stock ones, set them in my pile of trash over there. Not really going to keep those around just in case, but you'll take your Synchro and put it on just like that. Then we'll take this and put it back on. It's one of the ones that you've, like the last one we just did, which I don't know why this gets jammed, but you'll make sure to align it like that and put that on, and then you'll have to put the little balls back in again, snap this piece on, and then put the snap ring back on. So once you got that snapped on, then you can take the Synchro and put it on like that, then the bearing, and lastly the gear, if it'll go on there, just like that. So now the 5th and 6th gear set is all put back together. So now I'm just going to press that bearing on, put on the bolt, and then we'll be good to put the trans back together. So I got the trans put back together. Just put this one in first, then this one, then this piece, and then put the shift forks in. I really only think these are gonna go one way, but pause the video there if you want to see how they go in. This piece aligns here. Got the upgraded 3 to 4 shift fork there. You'll have to put the shift forks in first and then slide the rods through, and then you'll see all these pieces here are aligned. So well, mostly aligned. That one actually looks pretty messed up there, but oh well, it's going back together. So now it's time to put the case back on. Remember to put your magnet back in there, and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and clean off this whole flange here, and I'm gonna put some RTV on it. It did not seem to have RTV on it when I took it apart, but I don't trust that, so I'm gonna put just a little bit just to make sure it's sealed, and then we'll get to getting the whole thing all torqued down. Alright, so the trans is back together, the shift arm is on, and it at least does that, so you know, it's shifting, I think. Maybe not now. I don't know what does what. But anyways, all the bolts are in hand tight while that RTV dries for an hour, and then I'll torque them down. I also put some RTV on the shifter arm here. because it was leaking. So I advise that you probably should do that even if yours isn't leaking. And yeah, while this, actually I think this will just finish up this video here because this one's probably getting pretty long. And then in the next video, we will be putting everything back together to go back in the car. So thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.